So what happens when your team doubles? Now, in terms of building a company, people pick different kind of priorities and different types of choices. Some want to take it as a solopreneurs or just entrepreneurs who work almost, again, by themselves with probably some freelancers or consultants or some vendors, or deal with something like drop shipping that doesn't really require to have so many resources, or use some marketplace instead of dealing with marketing, and basically pick different choices to keep scaling and keep growing. Like just today, I actually met someone I've been knowing for a bunch of years. He has a super successful business. It's probably in the high seven figures or so, and he's pretty much working alone. He's a broker. He has an agency broker. He has tons of experience in some very high transaction cost industries. He's a great professional, and like we just met today, and he told me that he's working alone, which is again pretty admirable. I really love it, and he manages to deal with everything by himself, which is again pretty awesome. On the other hand, you have some other businesses like construction work or some warehouses where your budget or your revenue may be pretty low, but you have a high staff, high headcount, simply because the nature of the business requires lots of manual labor. And often this labor means that those are people who are not necessarily super high qualified, but they need to move things around and package goods and a bunch of other things, which again requires you to just hire at a fast pace. Of course, you can imagine startups, or you can imagine high growth tech companies or other types of agencies that land clients at a pretty high pace or land some partnerships and grow their customer base. And with that, of course, comes the challenge of growing the business in terms of headcount. Now, we used to have about a couple of years when we grew about double. It was when we were fewer people, of course, it was easier. Now for about a calendar year, we are going to be up with about 65% or so headcount wise, which is still something. It's about 50%. It's not nearly double, but it's again just a major expansion that we're dealing with nowadays. So a bunch of things happen when your headcount kind of grows exponentially. Now, first off, you need to consider the experience of those people. Now, of course, if you're hiring juniors or interns or something like that, you need to have people assigned for them. For example, if you have a boutique agency of 10 people and you decide to create an internship campaign, you may have 5 people who actually start with little to no experience, which isn't necessarily super productive, right? So you need to decide on how exactly to involve those people in the process. There's the slow way. You can do a kind of internship campaign that takes 6 to 9 months. You give them tasks, you give them some responsibility and some ownership, and expect them to do most of the heavy lifting by only allocating a couple hours a week or so with them. Now, this isn't super efficient. It only works for people who are really self-driven, people who are self-motivated and who can do that by themselves. And by definition, not everyone's like this, regardless of their motivation and potential. It's just temperament, it's just psychology, it's just mindset, mentality, working environment, their closest circle of friends, and a bunch of other things. So that's kind of ruling out one of the groups. You have the other way to just bond someone shadowing one person from your team. But this may get exhausting. Now, first off, not everyone from your team is necessarily a great trainer, leader, teacher, or whatever you want to call it, right? Some people are just built for that. Some people their mentality is all about education and leadership and training, which is super awesome. But that doesn't make the other people who don't enjoy doing that any bad, right? They're just as awesome as well, just in a different way, more or less. You can also kind of hire a full-time person who's a coach, a mentor, a business guru on itself, just training those people in-house. Now, that's another way to deal with it. But if you're a 10-person agency or company or whatever, it's probably an expensive resource, because this means that's someone who's both experienced in your specific industry, like a senior person, and also a great trainer, a great teacher, a great educator, who's able to convey all that knowledge and is patient enough to deal with people and passionate enough to do that as well, right? So again, that's for interns. Hiring more senior people, it's a little bit more challenging. It's doable if you really have a very strong brand, because I already kind of explained in a previous video that it's really hard to keep growing unless you have an employer brand. So I'm going to link the video in the comments in case you've missed it. But bottom line, like if you're, for example, a 50-person team, right? If you're a 50-person team and you need to grow double or even by 50%, this means adding 25 people to your team or even 50 people, right? And adding those people, like, unless you really want to build an army of entry-level folks, which is rarely a smart thing to do, then adding so many people means you need to find talent. And almost all of that talent is already working somewhere, or they are consultants, they're freelancers, they have their own agencies and basically do the business on their own. And convincing them to join you means that you have a pretty solid rock star product that's able to revolutionize the industry, as some guys from Apple would normally say. And again, this takes time, it's really hard. You need a brand, you need a perception, you need to be everywhere, you need to be a lot of things in order to be able to convince that many great people to join you. And then with great people, you face different challenges. Now, great people, they're used to their own process of working, right? So unless you're like a major leadership guru in the industry, and they use guru on purpose because, you know, it's funny, like not everyone is a guru out there for obvious reasons. So unless you're like the leadership expert in the universe, then it's really hard for experienced people to trust you and follow you and just believe that your process is better than what they used to do for the past 5 or 10 years, which is, again, more or less expected. Moreover, when you add more people, it gets pretty interesting as to how exactly to scale a business. Now, again, if you have a kind of small team or like a team of 20, 50, 100 people, you already have some hierarchy. But if you suddenly rapidly grow the company, it becomes a little bit harder to manage within the same old company, because you either need to bring in external management, or you need to promote some of your own troops, or some of the new hires you bring in have to step up as you know, some tech leaders, project managers, and things like that. And now all of these cases may bring different conflicts. Now, if you bring someone external as a project manager, or a product manager, a C-suite, or a director of something, they rarely know exactly what you're up to. They rarely understand your process better. Almost no company is as transparent as possible so that everyone from the outside can join the company effectively in a short amount of time. Also, it's really hard for people who have been around for years to just trust someone external. I had that experience myself in a company previously. The CEO appointed someone else as a CEO. A great guy, but like we really couldn't work together because he was used to a different industry, different process, different mentality, and it just didn't work out for me and a bunch of other people. So we all of us quit, and kind of the CEO was no longer working for the company a few months later. So sometimes that's not really a great decision. That's all I'm trying to say. Promoting people on your team is often a smart thing to do, but again, not everyone is a great manager. So if you just expect that your 5 top people on the team are just suddenly going to become managers, that's not necessarily the right thing to do. Some of them may not be suitable for this. Some of them may not want to do this. Also, it becomes tricky. Like if you have a 5-person team and you just want to appoint someone to be the team leader, like why did you choose them? Like why didn't you pick someone else on the team? This may create interpersonal conflicts. Also, again, if you bring new talent who don't know the company and you haven't been as loyal yet because they just joined, how can you promote them to be on top of the food chain? Because again, this is counterintuitive and doesn't really make a lot of sense if you think about it. So again, those are some of the challenges for growing a high team, let alone the fact that, you know, with payroll, with onboarding, with just making sure that the culture fit is the right, with making sure that people can onboard at the pretty much same pace so they can join different projects. You're going to face some troubles there for sure. Some things that you really need to keep in mind. That's why most companies aren't trying to be the fastest growing startups, because fastest growing disrupting startups are causing other problems. Or like if you have an office space, you may actually face a challenge of finding enough room in your own office to accommodate everyone else joining on the team. So that's yet another thing you need to think of. And moving to a new office space is hard. And trust me, I know that because we just moved in kind of last weekend. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, companies dealing with fast headhunting, it's really tricky. It's really tricky to find the right people. Sometimes you're in a rush and you're trying to find people and just trust them blindly, which is not necessarily the great thing. We are very cautious about culture, but you know, I know lots of people who are just hiring whoever comes in because they need to build teams rapidly. Just finding the right mentors, building the right infrastructure, the right processes, building the right culture with lots of new people joining in who are going to dilute the culture, and they may have to change the culture more or less. Those are plenty of challenges that most companies doubling their headcount deal with. So if you think to do that, think twice, and this may or may not be the thing for you.